I hope you guys aren't watching this in the morning before you have to go to work, because that's agony when you can't, you can't drink a beer and you're watching someone else do that. All right, that's enough for now. Hey guys, welcome to Homebrew Wednesday. I think it's number 25. That means 25 weeks. Wow. I really wasn't prepared for this week's Homebrew Wednesday. I've been busy tonight. Like, this is Tuesday night. It's actually about 4 o'clock in the morning. I kegged some beer. I bottled some beer. I tidied up my bench a little bit, now that you'd know it. I did some stuff with my yeast that I was doing. I'll show you that in a second. The washing of the yeast. But basically, the reason I'm so busy tonight is because I haven't done anything all week. So I haven't brewed. I haven't done anything with my all grain. I haven't tested my mash tun yet for temperatures. I'm really lagging on some things, just because there's a new water heater going to be installed here on Friday, which is the day I'm going to cast, so good luck me getting any sleep that day. And I have had to do a lot of shit down here, tidying and do, so they can get the old one out. It's actually only 2 years old, but we're getting the other one for free. So, but I am enjoying myself some hummus. Just take the cover off there. Hummus is you're supposed to eat it with pita bread, but I didn't have any, so I've got some, whatever this is, tortilla shells. Hummus is well, it kind of looks disgusting if you just don't know what it is, but it's ground chickpeas. No, it's pureed chickpeas, garlic, fresh garlic, olive oil, and my camera is tilting. A little stand I've concocted for my iPad here. It's not quite staying still. And so it's chickpeas, olive oil, garlic, lemon juice, and some other ingredient that I don't have, so I didn't use it. But it's so good for you. It's called hummus. Oh, man. Excuse me. Okay. I'm indulging on this video. Okay. Now, here's the yeast that I showed you last week. The thing about doing this, and just in case you didn't see last week's video, I took the yeast after I bottled or kegged a batch of beer. I grabbed the trub, depends on where you live, I guess, how you say it. I don't know. Tried to get most of the top layer of it, not the bottom stuff. You can see the different colors. There's the sort of darker part. You don't want that. This nice part up here you do, but see, it's still kind of a green color. I'm thinking there's still some hops stuck in there. So what I've done is I've removed the liquid on top, and I'm letting these come up to room temperature so that I can pour this part of it into one of these. And that one's not clean. There's another one down there that is. And of course, sanitize and everything like that. There's about 4 jars of this stuff. I'm going to pour all the yeast off into that thing. Add some more pre-boiled water. Give it another swirl to wash the yeast. Put it back in these jars after they've been washed and sterilized or sanitized. And let them settle, the yeast, let us get another little bit of yeast here. You can see how much of a pain in the ass it is. But I'm doing it because I have a little bit of a limited supply of, access to yeast in my area. And sometimes, people, sometimes they send me stuff, And if they send me a yeast, or there's another one in here that I showed you the last week, the White Labs, the little tube, that's $12 here. I'm not going to throw that away once I'm done making a batch of beer. You can use those things over and over again. So that's why I'm doing it. But the problem with it is it's a pain in the neck because you got to put them in the fridge unless you do it all in one day. You know, you take it off the bottom of your fermenter, you put it in things like that. You know, I'm going to make a video on it. I did this wrong, but it's still going to work. But there's an easier way to do it than what I've done it. Well, you got to let things get to room temperature. When you boil the water that you're going to use to wash the yeast, it takes hours for that water to come down to room temperature. You cannot pour hot water or warm water over room temperature yeast. You got to keep your temperatures steady, otherwise you'll shock the yeast, right? Because it's very sensitive stuff. You know, it's very sensitive. And so I've had a few beers, by the way, so excuse me. So, you know, when this is room temperature and the water in the kettle is room temperature, I will collect all the beds of yeast into a thing down there, and I will put the fresh water in, give it a nice wash, and then pour that back into these jars again and let it settle again. And then I should have some nice ivory-colored yeast, like nice white, sort of beigey-colored yeast to work with, and that's an SO5. That somebody sent me, and I'm not going to, you know, let it go to waste if I can help it. I don't know. It's good stuff. We talked about last week, we talked about the, this is totally off the cuff, I didn't know what I was doing today. We talked about the mead, like, where's the mead? Well, I got anxious, or impatient, and I went in with my wine thief. And I collected a little sample of the mead that's been sitting for several months now in a carboy, just hidden under the stairs. So I have not tasted this since it was put in that carboy. So this is I didn't taste it before I made this video. I wanted to keep this authentic. So we're going to give this a whirl right now and see what it's doing. The next step in this, of course, is to bottle it, and I'm going to get corks and do it in wine bottles so I can store it and keep it nice. I don't use those very often, so that can sit in age. Let's give this a taste and see how it's coming along. It smells much the same as it did last time I tried it. Kind of smells like the inside of a purse. Really, like it's bizarre. This stuff. It's give it a taste. Cheers. Ooh, that's nice. That's actually a lot cleaner than it was last time. It's got that sort of honey undertone. Honey's a very sweet thing. If you can imagine honey stripped away, like with the sweetness stripped away from it, and leaving behind the actual flavor that honey has, the underlying flavor. If you can imagine that. I know it's not easy to do. It's like imagining the fifth dimension or something, but that's what you got here. Look, it's pretty clear too. It's not too bad. And I didn't do anything to it as far as clearing. So that's good. We're doing that. It's coming along. As far as brewing goes, as I said, I haven't done any, and look at... I know you guys are waiting for the all-grain brew, and I'm going to do it. I got the stuff. You saw the stuff a few weeks ago. It's finding the time, which I'm gonna find, but it's... I think this is part of probably the last thing I sort of want to add to this Homebrew Wednesday video is that, you know, I do keep myself quite busy on the internet and with brewing and cleaning and YouTube and JTV and Skyping with some friends and having, you know, it's a busy time for me. I got kids, I got a family, I got to cook and clean, go out, stuff. For me to find 5 hours block time to brew is not something that I can do easily because although I'm a lazy person, I'm also a little bit of a busybody. I like to do lots of different stuff. Yeah, I guess, you know, it's just a good thing for a lot of us that there are other alternatives to brewing that we can utilize when we don't have the time to all-grain brew. I mean, you can imagine somebody who you know, is trying to save for a house. They're working long hours, and they've got a wife and a couple of young kids. And on a Saturday, it just might not be something that that person can possibly do. It's just not something that everybody can do. And I don't want to keep dwelling on this every time I talk, but I've been on the forums. I was looking around on Homebrew Talk and some other forums. And so I was poking around, and I was just looking at some of the things. There's still some beer snobs out there, a few handful of them, who can't fathom ever touching a you know, one of these when it comes to making a batch of beer, you know. And you know, those guys need to open up their minds and just stop being, you know, their time, their lifestyle, what they've got, and maybe, you know, whatever time they've got on their hands is not what we all have in other places in the world. And there's different motives for making beer. Of course, I've talked about the prices here where I live that are just so ridiculous that I can't bring myself to buy beer. So, you know, any beer that I drink, other than the odd occasion where I'm stuck with the keg incident and, you know, other times, any beer that I drink is homemade beer. You know, and in order to have a constant supply of homemade beer, I have to brew extract beer, whether it's a Cooper's or whether it's a, you know, a mixture of malt extract and grains, or, you know, adding hops to things and doing all that's nice. And having the option to brew the way it works for you and your lifestyle is, I think, what we need to agree on. And the debate about this versus that is really, it's really moot, because it's apples and oranges. Okay, if you can't all grain brew for some reason, or you can't, then you just can't. So there's no debate there, right? Anyway, guys, I gotta head out. I'm half in the bag here, and as a matter of fact, I'm double-fisted again. But, you know, this is what we do here on CraigTube on Wednesdays, and sometimes even on Fridays. And I hope you join me on Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on justin.tv/CraigTube. Come by, hang out for a bit. Love to see some of my old high school buddies, guys and gals who knew me from high school. Haven't talked to them in quite a long time. Stop by and see what we're doing over there on Justin TV, playing some old 80s tunes. I'm sure you're familiar with those. 70s, 80s, 90s. We talk beer, we talk homebrew, we have a great time in the chat room. It's just a big party. And you can stay home, kick up your feet, you know. You don't have to drive anywhere, and there's no designated driver required. All right, here's to the Mead, here's to the homebrew, and here's to you guys on Homebrew Wednesday. Have a good day, have a good week. Hope to see you Friday. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.